All right. The next section for cost, fitting that cost curve we want to talk about is incremental processing. And this, again, it's a pretty obvious one in the sense that it makes sense. It's more efficient to, process only the changes in a data set rather than reprocessing a data set, an entire data set all the time or every day, which is a pretty common pattern ultimately in data warehousing. But in Hive style tables, that could be quite challenging for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being that there wasn't a definitive way to even know what the changes in a table are, right? So in order to do incremental processing successfully, you have to understand, well, what's new since the last time that I, processed it out of this table. And again, this is where Iceberg's like linear snapshot history is a really powerful construct because we can keep track of the fact that, hey, our job has processed through snapshot 4, and now I see there's snapshots 5, 6, 7, and 8. I know that all the changes that are represented in snapshots 5 through 8 are the ones that I now have to go and process, right? And so I can do this very direct incremental processing and know that I'm only dealing with changed data. So here's just some examples of how we might actually achieve that. This has to be Spark code, where you can see on the left-hand side here, I'm doing a read from a table, and I've got a start snapshot ID and an end snapshot ID. So I'm saying, hey, just give me the data between these two snapshots, and then I can, when I've done processing that data and I'm making a downstream commit, I know my job is completed successfully, I can actually move that processing watermark up to the latest snapshot as part of the table commit transaction, right? And so there are other ways to achieve incremental processing in other systems, but it often involves your processing state and your table state are kept in two different places, right? Maybe you have a control table somewhere where when your airflow job completes, you update it and say, oh, this airflow job completed, which is mostly good, but there can always be that race condition where the job completes, but the airflow job never updates the processing table, and you end up reprocessing data or creating duplicate data. And by keeping the state of that watermark in Iceberg itself, we can make it part of the commit the table, and so there's no way for these things to get out of sync. So we're sort of guaranteed that exactly once processing semantics that we want from our incremental processing jobs. So small bits, but really powerful constructs that allow us to do a lot more incremental processing than we could previously. And the other part of this, of Iceberg, which makes the incremental processing really work, is the ability to do row level updates, row level commands, updates and deletes, right? In a Hive style world, we really had to stick to partition boundaries. You couldn't take a chunk of new data, and if a chunk of that new data had to update 6 different partitions, it was basically impossible to do. So a lot of the incremental processing patterns just didn't work when we had to do everything at a partition grade, or we had to really make our partitions awkward, not sensical, in order to handle our processing patterns. It was really a conflating concepts. But now with Iceberg, we can do these row level plans, and we can do merges. We can update multiple partitions in one transaction safely, and so it really brings a lot more powerful incremental processing patterns to bear, right? And so we can do things like this, like a CDC style processing from transactional systems into Iceberg tables in a very, very efficient way. We're only doing the processing the changes. We don't have to do, hey, full snapshot dump from my SQL table and replace the table in my warehouse every day. That can get really expensive. It's really wasteful, especially when only 5 or 10% of your transactional table is changing on a daily basis, and you're just repressing the whole table every day. Really common pattern. Iceberg gives us better patterns that really can save on cost.